The great hall of the alien ship stretched far beyond what the eye could see. Its walls shimmered with a living light, shifting in patterns that seemed almost sentient. At the far end, seated on a throne carved from crystal-like bones, was the alien queen, a towering figure with eyes that glowed like molten silver. Her presence alone demanded silence, and all who were present in the hall bowed instinctively. Before her, a crowd had gathered. The room hummed with tension. Alien warriors with armored limbs and elongated heads formed an intimidating circle around a young female human who stood trembling in the center. Her hands clutched at the edges of her jacket, but her eyes were wide with fear, reflecting the hall's strange glow. The queen's voice shattered the silence. It was deep, resonant, and filled with rage. "Who dared to touch my daughter?" She roared, and the sound reverberated through the hall, making the ground vibrate. The words hung in the air like molten fire, and for a moment, no one dared answer. All eyes turned toward the source of the disturbance. The young human woman's body stiffened as she shrank back, hoping the moment would pass. But the queen's gaze was absolute, piercing through the crowd. Then, slowly, from the back of the hall, a lone figure stepped forward. A man, human, unarmored, unarmed, yet carrying the weight of calm determination in his every step. He walked steadily, his gaze fixed on the queen. Each footstep echoed in the hall like a drumbeat of defiance. Around him, the alien warriors tensed, their claws twitching, but no one intervened. They had learned long ago that this particular species, fragile as it looked, carried a fire within it that no amount of brute strength could suppress. The human man reached the center of the hall, stopping just a few paces from the queen. He raised his hand slightly, in a gesture of peace, yet there was no fear in his eyes. Only resolve. "I am the one who touched her," he said, his voice steady, unwavering. The hall seemed to fall even quieter, as though the walls themselves were listening. "But I mean no harm. I only acted to protect her." The queen's silver eyes narrowed. "Explain yourself, human," she demanded, her voice like thunder, shaking the very air. "Speak quickly, for my patience is as short as the lifespan of a comet." The man took a deep breath, his mind racing. He remembered the events that had brought him here, to this alien ship, facing beings he could barely comprehend. It had started hours earlier, when he and a small group of humans had been exploring the uncharted system of Ardelia. They had stumbled upon this massive vessel, seemingly abandoned, yet radiating immense energy. Curiosity had driven them inside Dot as they moved through the corridors. They had encountered the young woman, now before the queen. She had been cornered by a group of alien soldiers, who mistook her presence for an act of espionage. In the chaos, one of them had shoved her roughly, and he had instinctively stepped forward to pull her out of danger. That had been the touch, the queen now questioned. "I did what any being with compassion would have done," he continued, his gaze locking onto the queen's. "I only intervened to save her life. I meant no disrespect." The queen's head tilted slightly, studying him. Her expression was unreadable, but the tension in her shoulders suggested she was calculating. Around the hall, the alien warriors whispered among themselves, their voices low, vibrating in the alien language that was both musical and harsh. "Your species claims to be gentle, yet it is fragile," the queen said finally, her tone sharper now. "You risk your life by stepping into the circle of my wrath. Why should I believe you?" The human man met her eyes without flinching. "Because I value life. Because I understand respect. And because I know that strength is not measured by how much you can destroy, but by how much you can protect." There was a pause. The queen leaned forward slightly, her long fingers brushing the edge of her throne. The hall seemed to hold its breath. Finally, she spoke again, her voice softer, though still commanding. "Protection is not a word lightly spoken among my people. she said. "It is earned through action, through courage, and through honor. You have shown one act of courage, human. But will it be enough to convince me?" The human man straightened, feeling the weight of the moment. Around him, the alien warriors shifted, some lowering their weapons slightly, but others still remained tense, unsure of the outcome. "I will prove it," he said simply. "If there is a test you require, I will face it. I will not back down." The queen rose slowly from her throne, her full height towering over everyone in the hall. Her movements were fluid, almost liquid in their grace, yet every step carried authority and power. She stopped a mere arm's length from him. "You speak boldly for a fragile creature," she said. "Perhaps there is merit in your words. Perhaps your kind is not entirely without honor. But words alone are not enough. You will face a trial, a test of will and spirit. Succeed, and you may leave this hall with your life and the trust of my daughter. Fail, and—" Her voice trailed off, leaving the threat unspoken, yet unmistakable. The human man nodded. "I accept." A section of the hall floor began to shift and part, revealing a glowing platform beneath. The queen gestured toward it. "Step onto the trial floor. Let your courage be measured." He hesitated only briefly before stepping forward. The platform hummed beneath his feet, sending a ripple of energy through his body. Then the hall around him dissolved, or at least seemed to, replaced by a vision of a vast landscape. Mountains of silver stone rose into a sky painted with streaks of green and gold. Rivers of liquid light wound through the valleys. And in the distance, shadows moved shapes that twisted and reformed, whispering threats and challenges that seemed designed to probe the deepest fears of anyone who looked upon them. The queen's voice echoed around him, though she remained outside the vision. "This is a realm of perception. Here, your fears, your doubts, your limits will be made manifest. Only by facing them and overcoming them will you prove your worth." The human man took a deep breath, feeling the surreal energy of the platform coursing through him. Shapes emerged from the shadows, towering creatures that seemed part rock, part flame, each radiating menace. One by one, they approached, their intentions clear, though silent. He did not raise a weapon. He had none. Instead, he focused on his mind, centering himself, remembering why he had acted in the first place: to protect life, to act with honor, to face challenges without fear. The first creature lunged. It was massive, with claws like hammers and eyes that burned with red fire. He dodged instinctively, rolling across the shimmering ground. But instead of attacking blindly, he studied its movements, waiting for an opening. Then, with a careful strike, he leveraged the creature's own momentum, sending it crashing into a crystalline boulder. It shattered, and the creature dissolved into light. Another emerged, faster this time, moving with a grace that rivaled his own. Again, he observed, anticipating, moving with precision and calm. Each challenge tested him, not just his body, but his mind. The visions of fear, of failure, of doubt pressed upon him, but he held steady, reminding himself that his purpose was not to conquer, but to endure, to protect, to honor. Minutes passed, or perhaps hours. It was impossible to tell in this strange realm. Eventually, the last shadow fell away, dissolving into mist. The landscape shifted, returning him to the platform of the hall. The alien warriors were silent, watching intently. The queen remained at her throne, her silver eyes fixed upon him, analyzing. Wayne got the human man stood tall, chest heaving, sweat glistening on his forehead. "I have faced the trial," he said simply. "I have overcome fear and challenge, not for glory, but to honor my intent and my word." The queen regarded him for a long moment, then slowly, deliberately, she spoke. "You have done more than survive, human. You have demonstrated courage, honor, and restraint. You have proven that even among the fragile, greatness can be found. My daughter is safe, and for that you have my trust." She turned her gaze to the young woman, who looked at the human man with a mixture of awe and gratitude. The queen extended a long, elegant hand, placing it lightly on her daughter's shoulder. "Go to him," she said softly. "He has earned your safety." The human woman stepped forward, her eyes bright, her fear replaced by a cautious relief. She reached for the man's hand, and he took it gently, offering reassurance without pride, without triumph. The hall remained quiet for a long moment. Then the queen spoke again, her tone lighter, almost thoughtful. "Your kind is strange," she said, addressing the human. "Fragile, yet unyielding. Weak, yet capable of feats that even my strongest warriors cannot achieve. Perhaps there is more to your species than I understood." The human man bowed slightly, as much out of respect as out of relief. "Perhaps, Your Majesty," he said, "but I believe it is not the species that matters, but the choices of those within it. Courage, honor, compassion, these are what define a being, not shape or strength." A ripple of murmurs moved through the alien warriors. Even the queen seemed to consider his words carefully. Then she nodded, slowly, a gesture of finality. "You may leave this hall unharmed," she said. "And know this, the next time a human steps among us, I will remember the courage of this one. Go in peace." The human man exhaled, relief flooding through him, but he remained vigilant until the last step brought him and the young woman safely out of the hall. Outside, the alien ship stretched silently against the stars.